Pnawn da pawb, croeso, and good afternoon everyone, and welcome to today's meeting of Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee, where we are all attending remotely. I'm Councillor Chris Hughes and I will be chairing this afternoon's meeting. Our role today is to protect and promote the social care, health and well-being of our communities through the scrutiny we carry out and the recommendations we make on the reports before us today. We also have some councillors and officers who are not members of the committee joining us today to assist with our discussions. Can I remind members that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live stream fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the council's website following the conclusion of our meeting. Can I check with the committee clerk that everyone expected today has arrived? And can I check that everyone can hear us?
Yes, I can confirm we're not waiting for anyone else.
That's great. Thank you. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available and to choose your language of choice. If you wish to speak, please use the raised hand function. You can also use the chat facility, but please remember when writing to everyone that members of the public will be able to see your comments. All microphones will be muted. If you have indicated your intention to speak, I will invite you to turn on your microphone. If you leave your device for any reason, can you please ensure that you are muted and that your video is turned off? Please remember that when your microphone is on, any background noise can be broadcast. Moving on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Councillors Keith Eales, David Roberts and Liz Roberts.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? Members are reminded that they must declare both the existence and the nature of their declared personal interests. No. We move on to item 3 then, urgent matters. I'm
no,
not
Chair,
aware
I'm
of
not
any.
aware of any.
No. And to item 4, to approve the minutes of the meetings held on the 14th and the 28th of October as a correct record. Unless anyone has any questions relating to the minutes, can I have a proposer and seconder that they are a correct record?
I'll propose, Councillor Chris.
Yeah, I see Dave Rees propose and Andrew
second.
Kinchcliffe has his hand up to second. Can members raise their hands if you agree that the minutes are a correct record? That looks like a majority from
Yes,
what I
Chair.
can see. Okay. We move on to item 5 then, to review the forward work programme, and can I bring in Democratic Services Officer to take us through this item?
Thank you, Chair. For the purpose of the webcast, my name's Dawn Hughes and I'm the Scrutiny Officer. Can I refer members to your agenda pack? So on pages 18 to 24 is the Social Care and Health Forward Plan, and the combined forward plan is on pages 25 to 57. Can I advise members of the following? The following items are scheduled for the next meeting on the 20th of January. So you're expecting a post-Christmas update from the Cabinet members for social care on the pandemic, including the effects of the fire break and the impact of the second wave. I think this was requested by the Chair. An annual update on the progress of the Place Efficiency Action Plan. And we have a new item which won't be on your forward plans in the agendas, relating to the Children's Assessment Centre. I think they want to reconfirm the previous recommendations that came last year. So I don't have anything else, Chair, so I don't know if there's any questions from members.
Okay. Do members have any questions?
I have a question, Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll ask in Welsh. Diolch. Dwi'n gwybod bod ni dal I ddisgwyl ymddyddiad gan Betty Cadwaladr I roi cyflwyniad I ni. Erbyn dall, mae Betty Cadwaladr am ei dynnu allan o fesur arbennig ar ôl bod yn y sefyllfa yna am 5 mlynedd. Ac o gynlyniad, mae'r bwrdd yn mynd i gael 82 miliwn y flwyddyn yn ychwanegol. A mae 12 miliwn o hynny wedi'w clusnodi ar gyfer gwella darpariaeth gwasanaeth iechyd meddwl yn y gogledd. Yn amlwg, mae gwasanaethau cymdeithasol a'r bwrdd iechyd yn gweithio'n agos iawn efo gwasanaethau iechyd meddwl. Felly, gai ofyn, os gwelwch yn dda, Cadeirydd, os gawn ni wahodd Betsi Cadwaladr i un o'n cyfarfodydd ni i drafod eu cynlluniau wella gwasanaethau iechyd meddwl?
In fact, I actually spoke to I contacted officers earlier this week, or back end of last week, with regards to the ongoing mental health issue, and suggested that we look to see how we can scrutinise the activities. So yes, I think that's very much something that we should be looking towards. In addition to that, I've also contacted them about dental health, because obviously everyone will know about the Bupa Oasis dental practices in Carnarvon and Carnarvon and Colwyn Bay, which are closing, which I think are something that we need to look at, because there are approximately 20,000 residents in our part of North Wales who could lose their NHS dentist.
Can I comment there, Councillor Chris? It's Councillor Cheryl here.
So, sorry, Councillor Cheryl. You're probably aware that we all had training yesterday as councillors, and one of the comments we've been asked to do is to leave comments from non-committee members to the end of the area. So if there is, I want to see if there's anyone else from the committee, yes, that wishes to raise a question first, and then I'll bring you in after those committee members have spoken. So is there any other committee members who would like to speak? I don't see any hands raised. So yes, Councillor Cheryl, would you like to come in now?
Thank you so much, Chair. Yes, it was just, it's the Betsy function of mental health you will be asking them, obviously, because as you know, it's a separated out service now. So it's the Betsy side of it. We had Dr. Alberto here a couple of months ago, didn't we? So I presume it'll be him you will be inviting back. And in terms of the dental services, I'm in close contact with Dr. Chris Stockport, in charge of community care for Betsy, looking at urgently trying to find replacement dentists. Obviously, this was a private company, Bupa, and you know, we have no jurisdiction over that as a health board or a local authority. But yes, the work's in hand. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, are there any other questions with regards to the Forward Work Programme?
Chair, I think Jenny would like to come in.
Jenny, yeah. Director, would you like to come in?
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just to come back to Aaron's main point, really, about the health board position. And I wonder, I think mental health is really important, but it might be, I'm just conscious that other than specific items, we haven't really invited the health board to give an overview on their plan for you know, the coming 12 months. And I wondered, you know, linked to this potential change in their position, would it be an idea for you to write, Chair, to formally invite them to attend to present on an overall position, really? Might be helpful.
I would think that's a good idea. I think it is some time since they've been to Health Board has reported to scrutiny. So if we're going to invite them to talk specifically about mental health, then I think it's a very good idea to to ask them for an overview as well at that time. Are members happy with that? Yeah. Okay. With that in mind, then can members agree? Can members give a show of hands to agree the Forward Work Programme with the proposed amendments? Yeah, I'm seeing hands going up. I think we've got a majority there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So item 6, questions to Cabinet members. I'm not aware that there's been any received, so we'll move on to item 7. And today we will be considering 2 reports by the Strategic Director of Social Care and Education on the following matters. So social services compliments, complaints and representations. This will be the final report for 2019-2020. And the North Wales Regional Partnership Board Annual Report 1920, which will be found on pages 95 to 122. We will start with item 7A to consider the report by the Strategic Director with regard to representations, compliments, complaints, and I believe Mr. Simon Griffiths, the Team Manager Quality Standards and Commissioning, will present the report. Simon?
Yeah, hello everyone. Okay, everyone's got sight of the packet. The cover report begins on page 58 of the pack. So basically, starting at the beginning, the report provide a review and statistical analysis of the representations, complaints and compliments received by Conway Social Services Department. And the period is April 2019, 31st of March 2020. Sections 1 to 6 of the annual report are basically the background information relating to the complaint process and the reasons why people complain and the legal framework and the stages of the complaint process. So most relevant section for members' attention is section 7 of the annual report.
Sorry to interrupt, members. Sorry, Simon. We seem to be struggling with your audio. Can you try turning your video off to see if that will help?
Is that any better?
Oh,
That's
yes,
much
thank
better.
you.
Thanks, Simon.
Right, okay, brilliant. Sorry about that. Yeah, so basically the rest of the report covers the statistical and financial analysis for 1920, data in regards to the number and types of compliments received by the department, lessons learned and identified improvements, and benchmarking data in relation to the 6 North Wales authorities, and then finally the key aims and objectives for the complaint department for the forthcoming year. Overview highlights of the complaints. The number of formal complaints received by the department for 1920, total of 25.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, members. Are you struggling to follow Simon?
I can hear him, but
I think
I'm afraid so. It's quite difficult to hear here.
Yeah, I think the majority seem to be struggling with the audio. Is there an officer that?
Anyone else available to take over the presentation of the report?
I think Claire's on the call. At an absolute push, I probably could take us through it.
I don't think Simon's struggling, I think, to be heard by members.
Hi, I am here. I'm just wondering if it's possible to move to the other agenda item and come back to this one while I just get the document up and everything. That might be the most sensible thing to do because I haven't got the document up in front of me. So if Jenny could infill with her report, I will then do I will come back and do the complaints and compliments one for you if that's okay. Acceptable to the committee. Are
you able to do that for us, Jenny? Are you happy to respond to your report and we'll come back to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So the second item for discussion today is to consider a report by the Strategic Director, Social Services, Social Care and Education on the North Wales Regional Partnership Board, the annual report for 2019, and the Strategic Director, Jenny Williams, will present the report.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd. Thank you, Chair. So we've presented this report a few times now. It's the annual report that is written by the regional team that supports the Partnership Board across social care and health in North Wales. So we're actually not the author of the report, but every partner organisation who sits on that board is required to present what the work's been involving over the last 12 months. So this is looking back over 2019, 2020. And what I propose to do, so yeah, we're starting off on page 5 and we've got the cover report there. I'm just going to give a little bit of context and then I'm going to dip into the actual annual report and just highlight a few areas, and then obviously we can take, I'm happy to take questions. So moving on then to page 96, the report context there. So in 2014, there was a significant legislative change to the delivery of social care in Wales. And we had the Social Services and Wellbeing Act that came into being in 2016. And with that requirement came very much a significant emphasis on regional working and regional integration across social care, health, housing, a whole range of partners. And out of that was born what was called the Part 9 of the Act Board, which is now formally constituted as the Regional Partnership Board. And for Conwy, your representatives there are myself as the Strategic Director and also Councillor Louise, who's the Cabinet Member. And each local authority has similar membership. It just so happens that the recent regional representatives for housing and education have also fallen to Conwy, or we put ourselves forward for those as well, so that there's a good number of us on the board from a Conwy perspective. So the purpose of the board, bottom of page 6, is really to consider how we can work more collectively, efficiently across agencies to support the wellbeing of the population of North Wales. And what the legislation brought with it was the requirements to support many people with different levels of need. I guess traditionally over the years, social care have provided services to our most vulnerable, but the wellbeing element has really come into its own really from 2016. And as you are all really familiar with, we also developed our community wellbeing service on the back of this legislation. So the bullet points there are about improving care and support, improving outcomes, ensuring people are healthy and well-being, and have their well-being met, to provide a coordinated, person-centred approach to care and support, and as I mentioned earlier, to make effective use of resources, skills and expertise. So that's the context. I'm going to take you right through then, if I may, to the report, which starts on page 100, and just pick out some areas there that I think will be of interest to you really. I'm just going to whiz through because the preamble of it is not as interesting, talking about the governance and structures and how it all fits together. So I'm going to take you to page 106. And this is a development that the board have pushed, which is really close to my heart. I've kind of championed this, if you like, for social care and education for a number of years. And this is the more than just words approach. And it is about ensuring that all of our services have, right at the start, an opportunity to be delivered in the medium of Welsh. And I think what the Regional Forum has been able to do is really ensure that wider partners, perhaps those authorities who don't have a bilingual offer, and some of the other agencies are held to account for how they're delivering the Welsh language. I've said many times, so I'm not going to labour too much, but I think if you can imagine needing a service when you're feeling vulnerable and not able to have that in your first language, how awful that would be. And that's an ethos that we try and champion, as I say, throughout the provision of services in Conwy. We have a really healthy Welsh language mix of staff that are employed by Conwy. We could do better when we talk about the private sector, in the care sector. We're always striving to try and help providers promote and support people who want to learn the language, and recruit people who have that knowledge and ability. And I think the main thing to note here is this isn't about a formal, perfect written and spoken Welsh. It is about that caring attitude and responsibility to using the language for those that are most vulnerable. So that's a really big part of the work that's been delivered in North Wales over the last year, and equally in Conwy as well. So moving on to page 108. It's not all good news. I'm going to point out some good things, but in terms of regional partnership boards, they have taken some years to find their feet. I think there's a sense that they are not really decision-making or accountability committees. And whilst they're there in terms of a statutory responsibility, there's still a sense that we perhaps just, are taking information into that arena, signing it off without the challenge. But I think it is developing. And there has been an audit that suggests that there could be improvements in terms of organisation being held to account. So that's something that is really going to be, I think, for a focus for the chair going forward. But one area I wanted to touch on, and it's just on the page at top of page 108, when we had an audit of the arrangements. One of the requirements is to have a pooled budget for care provision across North Wales. And we've spoken about this at committee many times, brought separate reports about the kind of signing up to the principle of pooled budgets. But this is one where we feel it's really difficult to move on. But I know that Welsh Government will be focusing more so on this in the future years to come, especially when they are thinking about allocating our budgets. So it's one to watch, really, a really difficult one to achieve, but certainly it is the ambition of Welsh Government to see us sharing and pooling money and funding more so. The next area, and again, the next area is around workforce, and I think sorry, I'm just shut my door. Joy's working at home. Workforce. So I chair the North Wales Workforce Board, and this is where we look at the whole integration of social care and health practitioners and how we can support and recruit and sustain people coming into social care. And community health, if you like. We don't really look at recruitment and retention of nursing staff, doctors, etc. It is about that community offer. And the 3 points there that I note that are noted in the reports on page 108 are really a big focus of the board, both the Workforce Board and the Regional Partnership Board, and that's about workforce sustainability, learning and development, and workforce intelligence. We've just heard today, actually, that there is going to be a big focus on parity of pay and conditions for frontline social care workforce, and that's something the Welsh Government will be taking forward. Moving on then to page 109, another area of work that is kind of very important to us in Conwy, but it's had huge challenges through COVID, and that's the Community Services Transformation Programme. So it's just at 2.2.1 there at page 109. And this is really about supporting individuals to have their care needs met through complete seamless integration. And I'm sure if Claire was presenting this bit, she would see that probably we've made a lot of improvements and developments over the years, but the actual delivery and working together, being co-located, has really been challenging through COVID. The health board struggle because of their lack of digital access. A lot of their records are still paper-based, and they don't have the kind of access to IT that we do as a council, and they've certainly got plans to improve that. But you can imagine with one half of an integrated model working from home as the base and the other half still in the office, how challenging that can be. But nevertheless, we're still really committed to working across with health, especially around supporting our older people. At the bottom of page 110, we've got the, again, really good stuff coming through on children and young people. So a big transformation programme across North Wales. And you'll be very familiar with how that is being delivered in Conway, because it's about schemes such as Meadow Lodge, which we've talked about recently, but also an integrated, seamless system for supporting children and young people. Again, if Kate were here, she'd be saying there are still challenges around access to child and adolescent mental health services, etc. But we've recently been very lucky in Conway to recruit a range of therapists and support workers for children and people in the county. So we're really pleased with that development, albeit that we've needed to have that prime funding to set us off in the right direction. Then later on, 2.2.3, Learning Disability Programme. So that's the third. So we've got older people community, children and people, and then the Learning Disability Programme. And we're massively proud in Conway of our learning disability services. It's built on sound foundation of working together with health for many years. So we saw this as an opportunity just to enhance what we're already delivering, and it's been a real success. And then, as we touched on earlier, and I know it's a subject that you are continuing to monitor as a scrutiny committee and is very important to you, and that's at 2.2.4 there on page 112, the Together for Mental Health programme. So what this programme has done is it's not really sort of looked at the delivery of the statutory, the community mental health team that you've heard about that Tesney presents. What this has tried to do is really support the community, the early intervention model. I don't know if everybody's heard of the ICANN model. It's kind of the brand across North Wales now, which is really about enabling and ensuring that people have very good access to mental health services, whether that be through a GP, or if you're distressed and need, turning up at A&E, or if you're just attending an appointment with anybody across social care and health, and you're distressed and want support. It is about just that ICANN model of enabling and supporting. And just touching on that for Conway, we deliver the ICANN model through the Mind Centre in Llandudno. At the moment, most of those services are virtual through, one-to-one sessions, either through Zoom or Teams or phone calls. But we are where people really need it. We are still offering that face-to-face support as well. At the bottom of page 112 there, the other area of work that the Regional Partnership Board have pushed on is around the research and innovation in social care. There's a lot of research and innovation that takes place in the Health Board, and that's been a kind of traditional status thing, I think. Universities do a lot of research in terms of health interventions, but it's limited and there's not much in social care. So again, they've accessed some of the regional funding through the regional team to develop a small research and innovation hub, which is starting to look at different models of social care delivery and evaluate and share that learning, so we can really pick up on models that work for our own counties. 2.3 there, again, really biggie, the North Wales Dementia Strategy. So again, in Conway, we've done loads of work on dementia services. We have our own dementia strategy and approach, but this was about making sure that there was equity really across North Wales. So that's another product that's been delivered. And then the last few things there really are more about our funding mechanisms. So there's, as I said earlier, you can expect to see more of our social care funding being driven through this regional approach. and examples are included there on page 114. The Integrated Care Fund, which we're in our 4th, I think, or 5th year of receiving that, and it delivers a whole range of services by now that I guess the main risk would be they've become very much business as usual. So we really rely on these services and are lobbying hard to ensure that funding stays in place. I'll finish off just by touching on kind of COVID and then the winter. I think next year's report obviously will look very differently, and I said this, didn't I, when I presented my annual director's report, that the work has been incredible but challenging. And what we face now, it's a very strange time because obviously we're heading into a busy, you know, our winters are always busy in social care, but the unknown around our COVID demand at the moment, you know, I'm pleased to say that we're very stable, have very low numbers of outbreaks in our care homes and across our schools, etc. But who knows what will, you know, what's to come, especially with further relaxation over the Christmas period. So the winter funding is there that enables us to plan for winter. For, you know, we have increases in flu, etc. anyway, but we are kind of bracing ourselves a little bit for what's to come. And if not December, we're expecting a very busy January and February. So they're the areas I wanted to touch on. Happy to take, you know, there's a lot that maybe you may have spotted or want to pick up on that I haven't referenced. So I'll pause there, Chair, for questions.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. And before I go to questions, I did ask, give you a prior notice of a question which I wish to ask, which is that following members will probably be aware that the primary legislation around Part 9 of the Health and Social Care Act has been revised recently. And I wondered if you could advise members of any changes that might be proposed to the format and membership of the partnership, and how, if at all, that might affect the scrutiny, the work of our scrutiny committee in terms of scrutinising the partnership.
Yes, so the changes significantly included extending membership to housing representatives and education representatives. So that's been put in place. And as I say, funnily enough, it's Conwy that's got both of those seats. The other elements that I haven't touched on, there is a section in the report on engagement and obviously the inclusion of carers and service users on the board, so that they're represented as well. So, yeah, I think we'll see the impact of that, I think, Chair, in next year's report. But it may be that as a scrutiny, you might feel that it would be appropriate to have something a bit more specifically from carers and service users in the next round. Perhaps that could be referenced a little bit stronger.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you. Right, I'll open up to members. Are there any members that do members have any questions with regards to the report? And if you can you show with your blue by raising the blue hand function? No questions. Okay, we'll move on to Councillor Louise Emery, the cabinet member, who has a question, who has her hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to reiterate what Jenny was saying, that there has been some great projects here through the RPB, particularly the ICANN, the mental health project, which we've really benefited from. But on the downside, I do struggle with the RPB in terms of too many people in the room. All of them clearly have their own reasons for being there, but when you've got 30 to 40 people, it's hard to have any real decent discussions about future strategy. And it also appears that the deals have been done before we came into the room. So I think the RPB definitely needs more teeth. The only downside of that is, which I think Welsh Government are going to try and give it more teeth, is it regionalises pots of money, which also I'm concerned about taking away that responsibility from local authorities. So it's a double-edged sword. We may want the RPB to have more teeth and dish out some of the huge amounts of money that we know are spent on social care and health, but that would mean, I think, less involvement from scrutiny committees and from individual cabinet members and local senior officers. So we're just going to have to see what the new proposals are, and obviously there's an election in the middle of that as well, so no doubt it will all get political come the new year. So yes, there is some good sides to the RPB, but it definitely needs improving going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Councillor Roger Parry.
Thank you, Chair. Quite a bit interested in respect of health intervention. I think you mentioned that. Can you expand on that a little for me, please? The reason why I'm asking is that I believe that we're eating far too much meat, red meat in particular. And if we change our diet so we can possibly reduce heart disease, obesity, and other illnesses, by doing that, we can save a hell of a lot of money as far as the health service is concerned.
Jenny, would you?
Yeah, so I referenced health interventions as being more evidence-based and research focused. Obviously, the work that I referenced in the report is about looking at social care interventions and research and evaluation of those. But yeah, I guess there are a whole range of more easily understood health interventions, such as healthy diets, etc., that make much more sense and are much easier, aren't they, to evaluate. Probably not the best for me to say I agree with you about the red meat coming from a farming community, but I think certainly there's a lot that we're doing in terms of our community wellbeing service around promoting healthy eating with children and young people, and our parenting programs, etc. That helps.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, I want to ask another question, please.
Go on, Councillor Roger.
Yeah, considering we have an aging population, you know, especially in Conway, especially in Trosolwg, how do you propose to help these people to get healthier?
Yeah, and I think that's what this whole agenda is about, really. When you strip out all the jargon, it is about keep maintaining independence, health, well-being. And you know, that's why we wanted to really focus on the community wellbeing service, where we're able to look at things from a different angle, look at what's important to people, support them to get there, to make their goals. I see it as a success. Sometimes it's described as a burden that we have so many older people in the county, but we have you know, many people who live really well and healthily in the county. We're seeing more people over the age of 85 who need services, but up until that point, we're seeing much, you know, more independence and good outcomes. We see that through, you know, like our extra care housing provision, etc. So I think that kind of tracking of how people's needs are met and their outcomes is really important, which is a little bit about what this research hub's going to do. But yeah, I see social care as being something really different these days to what it was 20 years ago. It was very much, you know, the state intervening and rescuing and, you know, trying to kind of, you know, it was the state knows best. I think we've come a long way, and I hope that you would see that Conway Social Care now is very much about supporting people across the piece, really, with things like diet, you know, keeping well, keeping healthy. So I think the whole service has shifted. It looks very, very different to how it did.
Can I just come back once more, please?
Well, can we quickly, Roger, can we make it to the question to the agenda?
Well, I think I'm sticking to the agenda with respect. Yeah, my philosophy when I worked with vulnerable people was you help them to help themselves.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I think
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Councillor Andrew Hinchcliffe.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, the Older People's Champion, I'm also on the board of Cymru Older People Alliance, and one of our jobs given to us from the Welsh Government is to get in touch with as many older people's groups to get their opinions and to find out what the issues are. And in the course of that, yesterday, I got hold of Wrexham's Older People's Champion, and they've done a project with ICF to have community care officers who are actually controlled by the local councils, but the larger council made the bid to ICF for all the community care officers, and they're in a particular community finding out what the needs are of particularly older people. And she said it was a huge success, and I just wondered if you'd heard of that system and whether you thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it is. We have heard of it and we are doing it. I guess that's our community wellbeing team with our community wellbeing officers, and that's funded through ICF. It's probably just called something different.
Right.
We're also looking to extend that offer through this, working with the third sector as well, and trying to look at different ways of maximising the community links that we've got, strengthening our approach with CBC, etc. But yeah, the models are kind of variations across North Wales of that approach.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Right, thank you. And can I thank you, Jenny, for the presentation? I think this year has been a very difficult year, and I think there have been some significant work done over the year. But I also think that people have been the obvious COVID crisis has deflected some people from being able to implement as much of the proposals as they'd like to. I know certainly there's been a lot of issues around mental health, hence why we had a mental health officers from Health Board here earlier in the year. And I think it is something that we are going to have to keep an eye on. We live in a society, in a community which is aged and are more susceptible to mental health and related issues, and I think that we need to be on the ball with that and keep it very close to our very much clear in our minds that is a priority for our authority. Right, if we can move on to the recommendations, which are on page 95, and recommendation 2.1, that the committee confirms that it has read, understood and taken into account the work that is required to be undertaken by the Regional Partnership Board, and 2.0, that the committee notes the work and progress in 2019-20 on the work areas that are being taken forward regionally through the North Wales Regional Partnership. Can members now show their hand? Can we have a show of hands to note?
Proposer and seconder, please, Chair, to note the report.
Apologies, yes. We need a proposer and a seconder that we note the report.
I'd like to move the recommendation, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
And can you all show, can we have a show of hands to support that? Thank you. I think that's the majority. That report is noted. Thank you. But we go back now to item 7A and to Claire. Are you able to come in now?
I'm going to give it a go.
Thank you.
I'm going to give it a go. As Jenny said at the start, I will not do this any justice compared to Simon, but I do have Simon on Skype. So I am hoping that if I can't answer any questions, that if he can't be heard, he can at least Skype the answer to me and I can respond accordingly, because he does know the detail inside out as the team manager responsible for the delivery of the service. And as you all keep repeating, as we all keep saying, COVID has taken our attention over the last 9-10 months, and we've been incredibly busy as a department. Simon and Nia have kept our complaints and compliments on road, so as part of the service on road on the show on the road, even get my words out. So I shall take you through the report. I have just refreshed my recollection of it. Simon does a sterling job in preparing this for us on an annual basis, and so I'm brutally honest, it's signed off quite quickly because it's normally a fairly accurate report, and it's come, as far as I'm concerned, the progress that this report has made in the last 3-4 years of reporting is immense. It's quite an easy read. and I hope that members will have had a chance to digest the content of it and perhaps respond it a little bit better than I have. So here goes. Okay, so the report itself obviously provides you with our overview since April the 1st, 2019 to the 31st of March 2020. And I think for me, what is really interesting in this report is that it still starts with the focus on the complaints and why people complain, as opposed to mainly why people provide compliments to us. The compliments are a huge part of our service learning as well and our development. It's really important that we know what goes well and what works for people in our communities and the delivery of our services, as well as where we need to make those improvements. So I'm really glad to see the report does focus on that. I suppose really sections 1 to 6 does actually cover that purpose of why people do complain. And again, as I said, that's really set out really clearly, as is the legal framework in terms of the 2 stages of complaints and the Ombudsman process as well. But I think Simon and the team have quite a good relationship with the Ombudsman's team. They seem to be quite fair on the whole with us, and we do have we are able to have some quite good dialogue with them in terms of when complainants want to take it to the next phase. And the report does cover the number of complaints made to the Ombudsman and the number of complaints that the Ombudsman has considered and those that they have rejected for consideration. Section 7 to section 12 of the report is probably the most interesting part for you as members, as it actually does cover the complaints activity for 2019-20, and it provides that statistical and financial analysis. It provides you with the data regards to the numbers and type of compliments received. As I just said, it's a really important part of the report. The lessons learnt and the benchmarking data in relation to the 6 North Wales authorities. And I think really one of the things that it really is important for me is actually looking at where do we go next? What do we need to do different going forward? So the report itself concludes with those key objectives, which I'm happy to take you through in a second. So just a quick whistle-stop I can't speak now. A whistle-stop tour of the report itself, which is identified in the highlight report, the cover report, that in total we had 25 complaints last year, 24 at stage 1 and only 1 at stage 2 of the process, which actually mirrors the previous year's performance. So that's really good. It means that we were holding steady. The timescales for resolving those complaints has seen a huge improvement, which I'm really pleased to report, but there's always room for improvement. And there was 87.5% were concluded at stage 1 within the 15 working days. And that's a huge increase, as you'll see, from the 54.2 in 18-19. And I think the report itself is quite light on this, but there's a huge compliment needed to the team itself, to Simon and Nia, for the way in which they support team managers and section managers to deal with those complaints at stage 1 and ensure that they are able to keep to the timescales. The report itself does go into some detail in terms of why the remaining, however percentage that is, I can't work it out off the top of my head very quickly, haven't been achieved within the timescales. The report does give you that detail as well. But to put it into context, we had 1 stage 2 investigation in the last 2 years, with 1 undertaken in 1920 was completed within the timescale. So that is really good as well. And the 1 that was undertaken in 2018-19 wasn't. I'm not going to suggest either way that we will be able to retain this I suppose positive trend throughout 2020 to this year, just because of the COVID situation and the fact that a number of complaints will have to be put on pause due to availability of investigators, etc. But in 2019-20 we saw a significant improvement. So in terms of compliments, sadly we had seen a slight decrease last year, but nevertheless 190 compliments is still a really good number of compliments to receive. What I suppose is really pleasing for me as a head of service is that when those compliments come in, is that you see you hear the satisfaction that people have had, but you also see how proud our officers are of a piece of work, and particularly if it's in relation to frontline delivery. It's really nice to read the gratitude really that comes back from the public. So we've seen in relation to our stage 2 investigations, going back to that quickly, we have seen a reduction in the cost that we've spent on, or the expenditure in relation to those investigations. Because as you'll know, we go out and commission them externally as per the framework, and that reduction has come down significantly, as you can see there. So I think that's quite a good and optimistic position to be in at the end of that last reporting year. I suppose really in terms of the final thing that I really wanted to show, was to talk about really was some of those errors really in terms of why we hadn't achieved our targets, or when we'd only achieved the 85. Oh, it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. Is that right? Can you all hear me?
We can still hear you, Claire.
Okay, that's fine. I was just a bit panicked then. It doesn't normally do that. I'm on a Cisco box. It shouldn't do that. In terms of our 19 of our 24 stage 1 complaints, 5 acknowledgement letters were not sent out on the prescribed timescales. In relation to the 87.5% of the stage 1 complaints, they're meant to be resolved within 15 working days, and actually 21 out of 24 were completed within that timescale. So for me, those are the really important things that I'd like elected members to, scrutiny members to actually consider today. The report does give you a lot of detail. It does summarise the fact that out of the 190 compliments, 161 were integrated adults and 29 were in children's safeguarding. I think it's possibly the nature of the work that's involved in relation to the 2 service areas. So you would expect to see a higher number of compliments in relation to integrated adults. And the report does give you a breakdown of all those compliments. So just to conclude really, what you will see at the end of the report, I'm just whizzing on down to it, is the recommendations in terms of development for next year. So I'm just whizzing through all of the data, just bear with me. I won't know this off the top of my head. In terms of, it's a very long report, Simon, this. It's far longer than it was when I read it 2 minutes ago. So the key objectives for 2021 is that we'll continue to be proactive in resolving complaints within the 24-hour of receipt. So it could be resolved as a complaint concern rather than a formal complaint. We will proactively encourage local 1 resolution at stage 1 to avoid the costs involved in appointing a stage 2 investigator. We'll continue to promote effective communication between staff and citizens, and that's something, as I said, see that Simon and Nia do really well. They do support officers to do that, managers to do that. They will reiterate the importance of adhering to the timescale through the complaints awareness training that they offer, and they will liaise with our information system, our management information system, to ensure complaints data can be reported accurately as we move over to WCCIS, and look at the recruitment process of investigators on the regional list, as we have a shortage in relation to those due to the restrictions under COVID. So those are the key objectives for 2020-21, and I have Simon with me, so I'm happy to move to recommendations, or you can take them at the end, Chair.
I'll take any questions that members have first, if that's okay.
That's fine.
So members, are there any questions?
Simon is here, so he can answer, but if he can't be heard.
Great. Do you have any questions? Councillor Andrew Hinchcliffe.
I was just going to say it's a really good report. It shows a service, that's doing very well. I should think under COVID, people are very grateful and realise the stress that you're under. So I don't suppose the figures for this year would be much different. But I think as an improvement, it's terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And are there any other questions to members? Councillor Roger Parry.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to point out, in respect to the last 5 years, complaints have gone down year in and year out in the last 5 years. I think that's very commendable. One thing, please, if I may. I believe the main theme of the complaints was a lack of communication. If so, can you expand on that, please?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, Councillor Roger, one of the things that we find in all aspects of our work is that communication is something that whenever, even for example, even if we have a child practice review or an adult practice review around a safeguarding issue, communication is always one of the fundamental aspects where people are never happy or we can find fault. It's something that, unless it's in the eye of the person who is waiting to receive the information, isn't it? And actually, if you don't feel that you have had information shared with you in a timely manner, or you don't feel that you have understood the information that's been shared with you, or had all of the information that you felt that you were entitled to, you as the person making that complaint or waiting for the receipt of that information is the person, and you're in charge of the way that feels. So communication is very much, it's personal and it's individualized, and we don't always get it right. And I think, so I don't foresee communication being something that will ever come off this list of things that we need to improve. If I'm brutally honest, because there's always things that we do better. We can always communicate better, easier, quicker, in a more simple way.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Roger. Councillor Frank Bradfield.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, can I say it's not a case that nobody's got any questions. It's just a case that these both reports have been very, very good. And I agree with Councillor Andrew and I agree with Councillor Roger on what they say about Comey social services and the handling of these compliments and complaints. When you consider in Britain, there's 600 children get taken into care every single day, and the increase in mental health in children is up 50%, yet we've had 2 reports today that gives the people and residents of Conway full confidence in the social services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Frank. And Councillor James Lusted.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to commend and agree with all the comments that have been made this afternoon. And I just wanted to point out, and to be fair, Claire did mention it, but the social services received a total of 190 compliments. I think that's brilliant. And I enjoy reading some of the quotes of some of the compliments that have come through. You know, the service went beyond my expectations, and you know, one of them was saying the staff were pleasant, kind, courteous, and quality of care was exceptional. And if I'm honest, that rounds and sounds of our officers to the T. I think we have a fantastic team of officers. I think they're led very well from Claire and Jenny and Kate and the team, and I think that's fair to say it's down to good leadership as well. So I think they are deserved of some commendment today as well. So I would like to you know, move this recommendation today and note that the team are doing an exceptional job, and thank you very much indeed, especially in these difficult times. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James. Before I bring in Councillor Cheryl, I'd just like to draw members' attention to page 84, section 9, the lessons learned, and what a comprehensive list and detail of the concerns and the lessons learned from the project, and obviously the complaint service improvement proposals. So I think that the report is an excellent report and it should be welcomed. I think the team in quality assurance are doing an excellent job, and I think we are fortunate to have such a good team of staff who have managed to keep the number of complaints that down from escalating by dealing with them appropriately and efficiently at the first stage. So again, Jenny, if you could pass on the complaint, if you could pass on the compliments of this committee via Simon to the team, we would be very grateful. Can I now bring in Councillor Sherrill?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Jay has excellently summed up everything I was going to say in terms of thanking the staff and the fact that this is a whole team effort to bring these figures in, and also behind that it always means that there's far better care and experience for our social care users, their families and carers, and we also have the extra benefit, of course, of bringing the costs down. I'd just like to personally thank Simon over this because of the fantastic work he's put in over the years and his dedication to making sure that these complaints are dealt with in the most sympathetic way right at the start, and he stops it ever getting in most cases to where it used to be, and he's taken this very personally, and I'd just like to thank him and all the teams, obviously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sherrill. So we've had a proposal. Well, I've got no further questions, no further hands up, so I'm assuming there are no further questions. I've had a proposer in the shape of Councillor James. Could somebody second the proposal today? Councillor Hinchcliffe, thank you. For transparency, the committee officer will now call out the names of committee members alphabetically and ask if they are for, against, or abstaining. Can everyone please unmute your mics? Once you have cast your vote, can you then please mute yourselves again? I bring the committee clerk in.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Chris. So the recommendation is for members to approve the Social Services Representations, Complaints and Compliments Annual Report for 2019-20. So Councillor Frank Bradfield.
For.
Councillor Mary Doyle.
For.
Councillor Andrew Hinchcliffe.
For.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
For.
Councillor Alan Hunter.
For.
Councillor Wynne Ellis-Jones.
Obliged.
Councillor Thomas Jones.
Obliged.
Councillor James Lusted.
Obliged.
Councillor Roger Parry.
For.
Councillor Dave Rees.
For.
Councillor Sue Shotter.
For.
And Councillor Aaron Wynne.
Obliged.
Okay, thank you, members. I can confirm the recommendation has been approved and will be presented to Cabinet on the 8th of December.
Thank you. So that recommendation has been approved. And that's it for today. It just remains for me to thank you all for attending, to thank the committee clerks and the officers for supporting the committee throughout the year. This is our last meeting of 2020, so can I take this opportunity to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Nadolig Llawyn, a Blawyn Newydd Dda. Prynhawn da pawb.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.